South Carolina player, a Dawn Staley minion. Just 2 weeks ago, went on I Am Athlete on a podcast, called Caitlin Clark fans racist in front of everybody.
2 weeks ago, Raven Johnson sat on a podcast and called Caitlin Clark fans racist. Not implied it, not hinted at it. Said it directly on camera for everyone to hear. And 2 nights ago, the Indiana Fever used a draft pick to bring her on to Caitlin's team. The backlash isn't just loud, it's unlike anything we've seen in women's basketball.
Amazing. There's a subsection of fans out there that are willing to eat crap from the WNBA regardless. Eat from the Indiana Fever. Oh, I'm over it now. Really? You're over being called a racist? Just that quick. Interesting. Okay. Must be nice. I don't get down. I'm not forgiving that. Okay. That's not going to happen.
Here's what makes this fascinating. There's a segment of fans willing to move on immediately. I'm over it now, they're saying. But the majority, they're not forgiving being called racist just because their team asks them to. And that divide is creating a crisis the Fever front office clearly didn't anticipate when they made this pick.
To get you fired up for Raven Johnson. And then they made the mistake of asking you to buy tickets. Damn. Oh, that's Ben Daniels' line. I can't say that. Trademark infringement, Ben. My bad. Shit. How about that? We'll go with it.
The day after drafting Johnson, the Fever went on a social media blitz, tweet after tweet, trying to generate excitement for their new player, standard operating procedure for any team after the draft. But then they made a critical mistake. They asked fans to buy tickets. And the response they got should terrify every executive in that building.
And on social media, asking for you to buy tickets as a consumer of their product. Ooh. The backlash. Oh. It is. There's 2 of these, by the way. There's another one. Well, what are you waiting for? Come and join the show. Additional single game tickets available. Wait a minute.
Look at the replies under those ticket sales posts, thousands of comments. And they're not just negative, they're detailed rejections from people explaining exactly why they're walking away. These aren't casual fans throwing tantrums, these are season ticket holders, people who flew to games, fans who bought League Pass specifically to watch this team. And they're all saying the same thing, not anymore.
And do I expect these games eventually will sell out? Sure. I guess. But the automatic fired upness that this kind of a tweet, and by the way, look at this. This is the biggest player in women's sports, the most popular player in women's sports. They got her sidelined over here. Let's just be real. You can see more of Aaliyah Boston than you can Caitlin. They got Caitlin Clark hiding behind Kelsey Mitchell back here.
But there's another layer to this that's getting lost in the controversy over Johnson's comments. The Fever posted a promotional image for the upcoming season, a standard team photo with their key players. And Caitlin Clark, the biggest draw in women's sports, the player who single-handedly doubled this league's viewership, is positioned at the edge of the frame. You can barely see her behind Kelsey Mitchell. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston is front and center. That's not an accident, that's a choice.
Science now. I'm not sure Caitlin Clark's going to be on this team in the foreseeable future. Like she's going to play this year. Is she going to stay here? Because it's pretty obvious they hired a coach that does not value her. We're seeing that now. And if this coach really believes that they are better when Caitlin Clark plays off ball, when she's not running the show, yada, 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 doesn't want to run the offense. If she believes they are better, then Caitlin Clark shouldn't be on this team. This is not the franchise for her.
The pattern emerging here is stark. Stephanie White was hired as head coach with a very specific vision for how this team should play. And everything we're seeing suggests that vision doesn't center around Caitlin Clark running the offense the way she did at Iowa. White believes the Fever are better when Clark plays off-ball, when she's not the primary decision-maker, when she functions more like a spot-up shooter than a point guard. If that's genuinely what White believes, then we need to ask a blunt question. Why is Caitlin Clark on this roster?
Yesterday, now I'm thinking about spending the $40 WNBA League Pass money on a half a tank of gas instead. Damn. Shit. My bad. Again, copyright infringement. Not really. I'm seeing weaknesses in some areas. First, management and coaching. Second, size. We need a foul discipline true size.
Let's talk about what actually attracted fans to the WNBA this past season. It wasn't the traditional, slow-paced, grinded-out basketball that's defined this league for decades. It was watching Caitlin Clark play the way she did in college. The deep threes, the no-look passes, the pace, the creativity, the must-see moments that happened multiple times per game, that's what filled arenas. That's what got people to pay for League Pass. And now the Fever are signaling they want to move away from exactly that style.
Play Caitlin at 2, you're doing her wrong. Then you brought in a person who lied about the Fever and trashing Caitlin Clark. Now we have to support someone who hates us based on skin color. I hope Caitlin Clark leaves. You don't deserve her. Wow, having fever, rage bait, fatigue, I'll watch on TV is fine. Wow. I'm not spending my money on airfare.
The fan responses to those ticket sale posts reveal something the Fever need to understand. One commenter wrote, "I'm not spending money on airfare, hotel, and tickets to watch Caitlin Clark play off the ball." Another said they were ready to renew their league pass until the Johnson draft pick, and now they're spending that $40 on gas instead. These aren't empty threats from anonymous trolls, these are paying customers explaining their purchasing decisions. The Fever are about to learn a very expensive lesson about audience expectations.
Mover sports star in the world, and you put her in the edge of your photo. Absolute fucktards. Right there. Is this a sign? Are they pushing her out of the franchise? God, if you own this team, you better wake up. Clark should leave now. You've got the dumbest.
There's a comparison being thrown around that should make Indiana's ownership pay attention. Multiple fans are calling this Babe Ruth all over again. For those who don't know the reference, the Boston Red Sox sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees in 1920, and Boston didn't win another World Series for 86 years. The curse of the Bambino became legendary in baseball history. Now, imagine Caitlin Clark deciding she's done with this organization. Imagine her leaving when her contract allows. Where does that leave the Fever?
Are you guys ready? Because it looks like Stephanie was too busy with part-time jobs to do some scouting and draft pieces for this team. I was on a high when y'all signed Sophie, and I was just about to buy a ticket and renew League Pass until yesterday. I'm out. I'm not paying these ticket prices to be called a racist by one of Dawn Staley's minions.
Let's examine the roster construction issues beyond just the Johnson controversy. The Fever still lack a true center. They need size in the paint. They need a developmental backup point guard if they're serious about contending long-term. And Tammy Fagbenle, who provided valuable minutes last season, is now off the market. She signed elsewhere. Meanwhile, the Fever used a draft pick on a player whose skill set overlaps with what they already have, and who comes with massive baggage in terms of fan relations.
Quick, if Cece and this team does not play like they did at Iowa in 23-24, that's what attracted fans, not the slow old W. It's year 3. They will not stick around. Don't F around and find out. That may go in my thumbnail. Evelyn DR, God bless her. I'm not spending a single dime on this franchise.
One fan comment captures the intensity of the backlash. It reflects a belief among some supporters that the situation has become personal and emotionally charged. There are also strong reactions calling for Caitlin Clark to leave the team entirely, with some fans expressing that they feel disconnected from the organization's direction. That's the sentiment the Fever are now dealing with. And it's not something that can simply be fixed through marketing campaigns or highlight reels. Once fan trust is shaken, especially in a highly emotional sports environment, it becomes difficult to rebuild quickly.
Front office. Great, another year of Stephanie White sabotaging the face of the league, Caitlin Clark. Wow, remember who your franchise player is? You got to be kidding me. I mean, trying to get ticket sales the day after drafting your star players. Opposition. I mean, look, not a chance. Whoa, boy. Really? Stephanie White played Caitlin?
Here's what the Fever front office needs to grasp. The explosion in WNBA popularity this past season wasn't organic league growth that would have happened regardless. It was directly tied to specific players playing specific styles of basketball. Caitlin Clark was the biggest factor, but the broader trend was clear. Fans responded to pace, shooting, creativity, and entertainment value. If the Fever try to force Clark into a system that neutralizes what makes her special, those fans will leave, and they'll take their money with them. The comments section is already showing you exactly how that plays out.
Completely unaware of Raven Johnson's comments. Why in the world would you have done this? It's I still can't believe it. I still can't believe. Oh, but she had some interview where she said, "Do you believe she believes that?" Because I don't. I think she's on a team playing with somebody she's playing nice with. Caitlin Clark, if you're waiting for Caitlin Clark to come out and not.
That's a comment that should be printed out and put on every desk in the Fever front office. If Caitlin Clark and this team do not play like they did at Iowa in 2023 and 2024, that's what attracted fans, not the slow old W. It's year 3. They will not stick around. Year 3 is critical. That's when the novelty wears off. That's when casual fans decide whether they're becoming committed fans or moving on to something else. The Fever are gambling that they can change the product and keep the audience. History suggests that's a losing bet.
Basketball organization to make better decisions. If I'm her agent, I'm looking around. It's a disaster. Tell me what you think. Hit subscribe.
So here's the reality check this organization needs. Caitlin Clark is going to handle this professionally. She's not going to make public statements criticizing the Johnson pick. She's not going to complain about her role in Stephanie White's system. That's not who she is. She'll show up, work hard, and try to make it work. But her agent is watching all of this very carefully.
The Indiana Fever. Oh, I'm over it now. Really? You're over being called a racist? Just that quick.
Let's talk about what happens next because the Fever are now in an impossible position. If they start the season and Stephanie White actually does play Caitlin Clark at small forward or primarily off ball, the fan revolt will intensify. Attendance will drop. Social media will be a nightmare. The national media narrative will shift from "Caitlin Clark saves the WNBA" to "The Fever are wasting Caitlin Clark." But if White changes her system to accommodate Clark, then why did they hire White in the first place? And what message does that send to the rest of the roster about who's really running this team? The Fever created this mess by hiring a coach whose philosophy doesn't match their franchise players' strengths, and then making it worse by drafting a player who antagonized their fan base. Now they're stuck with the consequences. Think about the business side of this for a moment. The Fever went from being one of the least valuable franchises in the WNBA to suddenly having the most marketable player in women's sports. That's a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Teams would kill for that kind of asset, and what are the Fever doing with it? They're actively alienating the fan base that came with her. Those ticket sale posts asking, "What are you waiting for?" got brutal responses, fans explaining they're not spending money to watch their favorite player be misused. People saying they'll follow Caitlin to whatever team she eventually joins instead of supporting the Fever. Season ticket holders announcing they're done. This isn't normal draft day criticism. This is a fan base in open rebellion, and here's the thing about fan bases: once you lose them, you don't get them back. The Fever had lightning in a bottle. They had sold out arenas, national television attention, merchandise flying off shelves, and a waiting list for season tickets, all because of one player and the style of basketball she represents. Now look at the comments. "I was on a high when you signed Sophie and was just about to buy a ticket and renew League Pass until yesterday. I'm out." That's a paying customer explaining the exact moment they decided to stop being a paying customer. The Fever should be studying that comment like it's a case study in how to destroy customer loyalty. The comparison to Babe Ruth isn't hyperbole, it's a warning. Boston sold Ruth because they thought they were making a smart business decision. They thought they could replace his production and use the money elsewhere. They were catastrophically wrong, and it haunted that franchise for nearly a century. If Caitlin Clark leaves Indiana when her contract allows and goes on to win championships elsewhere while the Fever return to obscurity, that's the Fever's curse of the Bambino. And unlike Boston, who at least got money for Ruth, the Fever will have driven her away by their own incompetence. The Raven Johnson pick is indefensible from a public relations standpoint. You cannot draft someone who just called your fans racist and expect those fans to cheer. That's not how human beings work. And the Fever's response, posting promotional content and asking for ticket sales like nothing happened, shows a staggering disconnect between management and its customer base. One fan wrote, "I'm not spending a single dime on this franchise just to watch Caitlin Clark ride the bench or play small forward. No thanks. I'd like to see Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark." That sentence should be the Fever's entire business strategy. Let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark. Build around that. Market that. Protect that. Instead, they hired a coach who wants to change her role, drafted a player who insulted the fan base, and created a roster that doesn't address their actual needs. It's organizational malpractice. The fan who said Stephanie White is about to sabotage the face of the league is expressing a fear that's becoming more credible by the day. White has a vision for how she wants this team to play. That vision apparently doesn't center around maximizing Clark's unique talents. So either White changes her vision, which undermines her authority, or she sticks to her vision, which wastes their franchise player. There's no easy outcome here, and through all of this, Caitlin Clark will be professional. She'll say the right things in interviews, work within whatever system is implemented, and be a good teammate. That's who she is. But professionalism doesn't always mean satisfaction. When her contract is up, professionalism won't necessarily keep her in Indiana if she feels undervalued or misused. The Fever ownership may eventually need to step in. This is no longer just about basketball strategy, it's about protecting a business asset worth tens of millions in revenue. The front office is making decisions that could directly impact that value. If the organization doesn't align around that reality, it risks long-term consequences it may not be prepared for. So the question becomes, if you were Caitlin Clark's agent, how would you view this situation? Would you advise patience, or would you start evaluating long-term options elsewhere? Because from where things stand, the Fever just made one thing very clear through their actions, and it may have lasting implications for the future.